let me record. And I got to do one more thing. I always forget. But so Jason and I, we're going to be your hosts. And let me see what Facebook is doing to me. Let's see here. I don't know if it's going to let me go live on Facebook. It usually does. Okay, continue. Okay, give me 1 second while I go live. Sean, your time and go live. Okay, I think we are. Yep, we're live. All right, beautiful. All right, so thank you, everybody. Jason, let me make you a co-host as well so you can help me out. Jason, make co-host. All right, beautiful. Okay, we're done. So thank you. Like I said, Sam Rosen, Jason actually was instrumental in connecting me with Sam. Sam was gracious enough to accept our invitation. He's running a wonderful company from Chicago. We'll dive into that. And then, of course, David has been one of our most popular presenters over the years. We've done several events on many different topics. So David's going to talk about Voyager Pacific and why they're getting into all different kinds of asset classes and how Voyager Pacific has fared and so on and so forth. So you'll get to hear about that. So how he manages 1,300 doors, and most of us have trouble managing 3 doors, but he's managing 1,300 plus. So but anyway, we'll dive into that. But let me get started with Sam. Sam, this is super informal, folks. If you have a question, you can chat your question to me or to Sam or David or Jason, or look, you can just unmute yourself and ask away. But yeah, this is all about learning. It's about networking. If you have specific needs, we'll do some networking later on. But yeah, let's get started with Sam and then with David. We'll do Sam's presentation, then we'll do David's presentation, then we'll do Q&A for everybody. So, all right, Sam, it's all yours.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you guys. I know that it's all different times for all different people. I'm a pretty informal dude, so please feel free to interrupt me and ask questions as I go through this presentation I whipped up. Just to be candid, I'm in the middle of fundraising. So this presentation is kind of a mashup of some of the insight that we're sharing with people to really explain what we do and at DeskPass and what we're trying to solve. And then the other part is some of the kind of interesting things that we've learned about what we think is the future of the office and how people are going to work. So that's like the general structure here. But my name's Sam Rosen. I'm the CEO of DeskPass. My background is I got into this kind of notion of flexible workspace and co-working about 12 years ago and opened up the first co-working space in Chicago when there were about 300 spaces in all of Chicago, in all of the world. Today, there's about 300 spaces in Chicago alone and 30,000 in the world. So I've seen quite a transformation in sort of this idea of how people use the office and the rise of more flexible shared spaces like co-working spaces and serviced offices and stuff like that. So let me get my presentation rolling here. While I do this, I just want to confirm y'all can hear me all right and see me, and this all is coming through loud and clear. All right, let's do it. You can see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so my general presentation is about hybrid work and the future of office. And to start that off, I'm going to really talk through the value proposition of what DeskPass is trying to solve. So COVID broke the office, and what we've seen is companies are scrambling to rethink what the office means to them and what sort of the traditional office and going to work and what that looks like and what that means in the future. So this age-old strategy of long-term leases and bringing all of my employees to one centralized or a few centralized locations has fundamentally changed over COVID as employers and employees have realized they can get work done wherever they want to get done, and companies can be effective, and their real estate is really expensive. And at the same time, on the side of landlords, this long-term lease model is no longer the only acceptable solution for the tenant, and we're seeing kind of record underutilization of real estate. So we're seeing record vacancy, record sublease markets, and I think that's really indicative of the change that's happening. And you've probably heard, if you read the news, that hybrid work is the future. And I think to us, that means for some companies, they're going to go from everybody having to go in the office every day of the week to maybe you only have to go in the office 4 days a week, or maybe you never have to go in the office ever again. But I think what we ultimately expect is it's mostly going to be in the middle, and different companies are going to have different policies based on their employees, what they do, where they work, what they do. And managing this idea of your employees working in lots of different workspaces and being able to support them, whether they're working from home or a co-working space near their house or while they're traveling, is complicated because by its very nature, it's a decentralized problem. And you're trying to create lots of kind of variety of solutions for your employees. So that's what really DeskPass solves. Our tagline is around, we make hybrid work, and it's this idea of, we don't just want to make going to these other offices other than your HQ or home, acceptable. We want to make it really joyful so that if you wake up and you say, I have a really important phone call, but my kids are being annoying and I want to get to a workspace near my house so I can take a phone call, that we can really facilitate that, that need and connect you with that workspace through your employer. So at the end of the day, what DeskPass does is we connect with companies with 1,000+ co-working spaces all over the world, predominantly in the US today. And we work with existing operators. So we work with like local, regional, and national operators. And we provide one platform, one application, one network. So anyone on your team can book any of our spaces, making it really easy for you as an employer to enable your employees to access meeting rooms, desks by the day, and private offices all on the go. And we do this in a model that's completely pay as you go. So you can offer this as a benefit and only pay when folks use it themselves. So things that are really important to understand about DeskPass is we're asset light. So we don't own or operate any of the co-working spaces we work with. We predominantly work with professional managed workspaces like Common Desk or VentureX, and depending kind of where you are in the world, we probably work with a different operator there. More and more, we're starting to work with hotel groups like the Hoxton that are getting into real estate on the commercial office side, and landlords like Tishman Speyer, RXR, that are realizing that part of their portfolio is going to have to offer some flexibility and some leasing terms under 5 years for them to be competitive in the future. And then we work with companies like GoodRx or Gallagher or the federal government here in the US, and we help them connect directly with these workspaces through our platform, which is essentially an application. So today we have about 1,200 locations. We're in 24 countries through our kind of broad network, where we are primarily in the US, Australia, and Canada today. And that's the network of locations that we work with. And because the nature of our model, that we don't, lay bricks and buy and sign leases, and because we work with existing operators, we end up being the largest network of these co-working spaces in the cities we operate in. So we're bigger than WeWork by like threefold in the cities we're in. We're bigger than Regus almost by double, which is the largest operator. And most of our spaces aren't just in the central business district, but they're in the suburbs. They're in rural areas. So we think we're creating access to these workspaces where a lot of the behavior is going to change, and people are going to say, I don't want to schlep to the city every day, but if there's a co-working space near my suburb or near my community, I'm going to use that from time to time if my employer will allow me and pay for it. So this is what our app looks like. At the end of the day, it's a booking app similar to like Airbnb or Uber, or, Hotel Tonight. It's web-based. Most of our bookings happen the same day. So people wake up in the morning in the same way they think of like a restaurant reservation, they think of a work reservation. So today I need somewhere sort of lively near my house, or tomorrow I need a meeting room near my kids' daycare. They can find that platform, they can find that space through our platform and book it. And then on the team side, we offer this really exciting suite of tools where most companies are really new to offering this flexible, kind of mobile hybrid offer to their employees. And they frankly don't know who's going to use it. When are they going to use it? What type of spaces do they want? So DeskPass allows employers to say, look, here's 1,000 spaces. We'll pay up to X. And this gives us insights to understand how you're using space, where you're using space, so we can ultimately inform what our office portfolio should look like in the future. And hopefully DeskPass and co-working and flexible offices play a big part of it. So a manager can set up their team, set rules and saying, this is our East Coast team, only access to East Coast spaces. These are sales folks, only give them meeting rooms under $500 or whatever that would look like. And I think one of the cool paradigms that we're starting to understand is in this world where everybody doesn't show up at the office every day, there's a really important new question that we're going to have to start kind of grappling with. And that is, where the heck are my colleagues working today, right? If they can work from home or work from the office or work from a local cafe or a local co-working space, the ability to see my colleague Jane lives near me and is working at a space near me is actually really insightful and really can impact how people think about, use, and consume space in the future. And that's part of the problem that we're trying to solve. I'm about to get kind of more into the insights, but I just want to say that this model is kind of, I think, particularly interesting in this time. If we look at really the commercial real estate market at large since the beginning of the year, it's grown only about 4% month over month. This is a little outdated, so it's almost at 40% nationally here in the US. But the readoption of this space is about 4% growth month over month. And if you look at our business, it's growing a lot faster, right? I mean, we're growing 35% month over month, and have been able to sign up some pretty world-class clients. And we think this means that, it's not that folks are afraid of going back to work. It's that the old office and the old sort of paradigm of being forced to go to one location isn't the solution of the future. And that's really what we solve. So for companies, we're a complete alternative. And before they think of calling their broker at CBRE or JLL, they look at DeskPass to see if we can solve their commercial real estate problems first. And on top of just physical space, we offer employers a lot of benefits for their employees, including less commute, so less stressful time, more time with their neighbors or with their colleagues, additional kind of benefits and flexibility, environmental benefits. If I don't have to schlep to the office every day, I save all sort of the carbon impacts of driving to the office or getting to the office. And then by keeping people closer to their home or their neighborhoods, you cultivate vitality within communities that are local and not kind of transplant it to the central business districts of where businesses is often kind of, the commerce is often led. So that's a background on DeskPass. I don't see the chat, but feel free if you have questions or thoughts, would love to hear them. To me, I think what I can offer here based on my experience being a, really a design strategist and technologist that over the last 10 years has slowly backed myself in commercial real estate. I think I can offer kind of a unique vantage point of what we're learning about these new types of teams and what they're actually looking for in the office and how they're using office space. So here are some insights in no incredibly particular order, but a recent survey by JLL says 66% of employees are expecting to be able to work from different locations post-COVID. But at the same time, 74% of them want the ability to come into the office. So employees at the same time are saying, we want flexibility to work from wherever we can be the most productive, but that doesn't mean we want the office to go away. And I think what we expect over time is the office will get smaller and more specialized to what it's good at: meetings, presentations, conferences, technical work. And companies will be more open and have the practices and technology and culture in place to allow their employees to work from home. But for lots of people, home is not a great place to work. So this flexibility is really what employees are looking for. And an office means a different thing to different people, different teams, and different companies. I might need a different space on a day I need to focus, for a day I need to be inspired, versus a job or a company that I work for. And this notion that one office is the right solution for everybody in your company is just not true, and really a byproduct of how things have evolved over time. So in our platform, we see a mix of all types of workspaces that like to be booked. So today, 40% of our bookings are desks. So these are people just looking for a hot desk. They're looking for a place to work from 9 to 5, to come in and out, and it's a communal desk. Another 40% are looking for meeting rooms. This means anything from a private phone booth, so I can take a call like this, to a large conference room, where we're seeing a lot, like right now in December, where companies are bringing 20, 30, 40 employees together to work on strategy or end of year planning. And then also private offices, and this is everything from like a private office for a day to a team room for 20 people for a few months until they're waiting for another real estate solution. But really, at the end of the day, hybrid, we believe, is this blend of working from home, working from the office, working from co-working spaces, but also working from other spaces like a hotel lobby, a cafe, the park near your house. That is really this notion of this work style that allows you to blend work from wherever you get your best work done. And kind of as we mentioned, the reasons we're seeing companies move to hybrid is they're looking for a wider talent pool. They're trying to recruit, and they find that outside of their HQ, they can recruit talented people. And they realized over the last 2 years that works. Working from home might sound great if you have a big house and a private office, but if you have roommates or kids or are ADD, that might not work for you, or a spouse that you don't like. And I think ultimately it really comes down to employees' desire to retain freedom and choice of where they work, and finding a mix that works for them and allows them to be most productive. At the same time, using space just when you need it and not having a desk available for you whenever you need it, irrespective of if you're there, is much more cost effective and saves company and people money. So from our platform, we have all sorts of types of companies that use DeskPass, from companies in financial services with thousands and thousands of employees, but it often happens very kind of progressively and over time, where people within an organization will begin to explore and try these new types of spaces, share it with their team and their employees and their clients and their colleagues. And over time, we'll see that company begin to utilize all of the different workspaces that we offer. But I think that most companies have gone from traditionally working in the same office every day. Most employees are used to that pattern. So there's a real change happening here, in this notion of being able to go to different environments that I've never been to is a new paradigm. And it's a big part of the problem that DeskPass is trying to solve, which is making employers and employees comfortable with using these types of new spaces. And we see other teams, like this hybrid team, which is a much smaller team, which is using our platform over 7 cities, right? And all types of inventory. So instead of having to have an office or a WeWork membership or a commitment in all these markets, this employer can say, look, we have an office solution for wherever you are. And you see that their employees use desks, meeting rooms, offices for all sorts of scenarios and all sorts of situations. So as I wrap up here, a lot of the kind of behaviors and patterns that we've seen are really interesting that might be insightful to everybody else here is when we've surveyed our employees and teams and looked at the data, we've learned a couple things. One is when companies don't use the spaces on DeskPass, they actually prefer working from home or working from a coffee shop. They're not looking to go to HQ. So DeskPass really isn't just an alternative to going to the office. It's an alternative from working from home and working from other spaces other than the office. And this isn't something typically that people are doing 5 days a week. Our predominant use case is somebody who's really just looking for a space once or twice a week to break up their patterns or use specialized space. And then when they get to the space, they're not there 9 to 5. They're typically there sort of in the sweet spot of 4 to 6 hours. So they come in, they book, same day or the night before, and they really are kind of looking for a specific space for a few hours to get their work done and be productive before they go back to their home or their life. On our platform, a lot of the folks that do work are around operations, administrative, creativity, and strategy. More and more, we're starting to see meetings, video calls, and in-person meetings. But most of folks using the platform are just looking for a place to work to get their day-to-day work done, nothing specific or specialized. And when they're looking at spaces, these flexible hybrid spaces, what they're looking for kind of predominantly is a phone booth, which makes sense, right? We're all in meetings all day long. So the idea of finding a quiet, private space to take a call is as important as ever. Having quiet, dedicated areas to focus, free amenities like coffee and tea or a complimentary kitchen, and the other sort of technology and tools that you would expect in a modern office. But overwhelmingly, what people are looking for is all of these things close to their house, right? Proximity to, where they live and where they spend their day is ultimately the largest driver that we see of how someone picks their space. And this notion of waking up every morning, driving an hour or half an hour or 2 hours each way to the office, we think is a paradigm that's really going to shift and change over time as employees change their policy. So other than proximity, walkable neighborhoods, access to quiet phone calls, professional environments, varieties of space. So sometimes space to be quiet, sometimes space to be loud, sometimes space to be inspired, some space to be focused, and the ability to interact with other folks. I think one of the coolest things that happen at these co-working spaces is because you're not surrounded by your colleagues every day, all the time. You get to meet interesting people that are in other industries, other professions, meet them, connect with them. That might affect your life, your career, your perspective on the world, which I think is a really kind of unique benefit of working in these work environments that are not just for employees or colleagues. This is old, ignore this. This shouldn't be in this presentation. So we're seeing, for our platform, marketing, design, technology, finance, consulting, sustainability, it's all across the board. One of the most interesting things we're learning is, the people we're talking to buy DeskPass and make these real estate decisions for these companies that vary anywhere from 5-person companies to companies that have tens of thousands of employees is more than ever, the person who's trying to figure this out within the company is HR or the head of people. So these are folks that are really signed up to not the traditional like finance or real estate buyer, but someone who's really kind of thinking about the human people side. And they're going to their workforce and trying to say, look, we know COVID has changed things. What are you looking for? And then ultimately adjusting their strategy. So it's a different type of buyer, and it's a different type of people that are starting to make these really, important real estate decisions. I think that is mainly it. Just a couple last insights, and then I'll shut up and answer questions. But things that are really fascinating. When people are given the choice, people take it, right? We have 1,000 spaces on our network. In most cities, we have 20, 30, 40, 50 locations. People don't just find one location and stick with it. They actually appreciate variety, and the average person uses 5 different DeskPass locations, and they're cycling between different locations to solve their needs at any given time. And that people want to obviously work closer to home. So there's like environmental sustainability implications of this, but we can prove that by offering hybrid work solutions, we can typically reduce an employer's employees' commute time by 30 to 60%, which seems like will be a more and more important idea over time. So that's kind of my shtick. I think, you know, the world is really fundamentally changing. Landlords, you know, what we're seeing more than ever is landlords, commercial landlords coming to us, realizing that, you know, their portfolio, which used to be 100% based on these long-term 5-year plus leases, is changing. And for them to have a competitive offering and a competitive portfolio in the future, they're going to have to offer some flexible options. And I think the more conservative folks think it's going to be 10% of their office portfolio. Folks like JLL think it's going to be closer to 30% of office that's going to be flexible by the end of 2030. But I think we're going to see a profound number of these, you know, flexible hybrid workspaces popping up in neighborhoods, more rural communities. And they're going to have a real implication in the way that companies think about how they use their space, how their employees use office, and how they kind of manage the portfolio of the future. So that's my shtick. Thanks for listening, and look forward to kind of hearing your questions. If anyone, you know, would love to learn more or talk more or has questions, I'm, you know, always accessible. sam@deskpass.com. Easy to find.
Excellent, excellent, Sam. I'm sure a lot of folks will have questions. I have questions. Jason has questions, but we'll come back to those. But fascinating, well done. You know, I know how hard it is to build a startup, so very, very well done. And I'm sure we'll get back to some more questions for you if you don't mind sticking around for another 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So, all right. All right, with that, I'm gonna turn it over to my friend, my partner, David, who's in Fresno. I think he's still in Fresno, California, but you never know nowadays with David. But
haven't got washed away yet.
All right. So many of you know David. You met him at the, you know, we've been doing events before, but if you haven't, just a great person that he's become a friend, where we do business together. But over the past 4 years, you know, I've seen the organization grow, and now, you know, I'll let him explain, but you know, more than 13, close to 2,000 doors that are being managed out of Fresno by David, Andrew, the team. So, you know, like I said, this is about learning maybe a little bit about how to scale up, and then also learn about switching gears and maybe diving into something else, but having the foundation to continue to do what they're doing really well, but then maybe switching it up a little bit to get more action out of the real estate market. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and then after that, we'll do Q&A for both David and Sam. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Bobby. And as Bobby mentioned, we've been friends for quite a while now and done a ton of deals together. And we're always looking for new and interesting things to partner up on. So we love working together. And I see a number of other folks that we've had the privilege and pleasure to work with over the last few years, like Kathy Lee and Lorna Christensen, who have invested in our projects and our fund over the years. So we're really pleased to have them on board. And, you know, we just like making friends everywhere and helping them make money, you know, and grow their portfolio. So that's kind of what we do. Sam, I have to say that's pretty cool what you got going there. You know, you're solving a new world problem. Our problem that we solve is very old school. It's basically residential real estate that we deal with. So, you know, when the folks leave our houses, hopefully they go to your office spaces, but ours is very tried and true, our business model, mainly residential rental real estate. And we also invest in some other things along that in our fund and do development along the way. But I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Do I have the ability to do that, Bobby?
Yes, you can do a screen share.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
No.
I can do it without slides, but that's all right.
No. Okay, now try it now.
All right, let's see. All right. How's that?
That works.
Cool. All right. So some of you are probably familiar with Voyager Pacific Capital, and what we do. Let me go backwards here. Back. Technology. I love it. Oops, going forward. Hang on one sec. And we'll just do it this way. What the? Hang on a sec. I think I got the wrong set of slides here. Let's see. Technology is not my forte. Hold on a sec. Go. That's the right one.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
No.
No.
Just do desktop or app share or desktop share.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Let me share again. There it is. All right.
There we go.
Yay. All right. Now we got the right one. All right. So anyways, Voyager Pacific Capital, we're a private equity real estate fund, and we invest in residential real estate mainly in the Midwest, South, and Southeast. As Bobby mentioned, we've got a number of doors. We got about 1,250 rental doors right now. In addition to that, we have some other asset classes that are included. So we do have two private equity or two funds. One is our Opportunity Fund 2. And that one is designed for years of steady, reliable passive income. I like to say we make owning investment properties easy because we basically put it on autopilot for you. So I know in Bobby's meetups, a lot of you folks like to own real estate and do own real estate and manage it yourselves. What we do is, take away the day-to-day operational part of it and basically just drop the checks in your account every month. And so it's kind of nice to have that as kind of something to balance out your portfolio, because it's great to own the real estate yourself and do the management and repairs, but after a while, sometimes it gets old and you just want those checks coming in without all the calls and the headaches and whatnot that goes along with that. So we've got two funds, the Opportunity Fund 2. That one's focused on smaller assets, and we'll talk about that. Mainly designed for, it's a cash flow fund. And then we started a high yield fund 3 this summer. And that's a value add opportunistic real estate investing fund where we're actually finding projects that, we can actually, larger projects than what we have in Fund 2, between $3 and $15 million, where we can improve on those and then really increase the value of those assets. So let's take a look at Opportunity Fund 2. Basically, it's thousands of small assets diversified around the country. And what makes up the fund, we have vacant land in the fund, rental homes, as we've talked about, and tax lien certificates that we buy. On the vacant land side, that's a pretty unique asset class. That one actually generates regular cash flow every month. We sell the land on contract, so it's kind of like renting the land, but we actually carry the paper on it, and it generates monthly income. Also, you get a nice down payment when somebody purchases the land. The rental homes, we have those, as I mentioned, in the Midwest, South, and Southeast, and we look for markets that cash flow. On the coast, the cap rates are very compressed. Actually, in a lot of cities now, the cap rates are very compressed. We were fortunate to go in and buy a lot of these homes prior to all that going up. And we look for markets where we can generate good cash flow from the assets. We're not as focused on appreciation as you would be on the coast specifically. But actually, we've seen pretty good appreciation in the last couple of years, and even through COVID, especially with folks that are looking to get out of the big city or get out of an apartment. And most of our rentals are single family homes or small duplexes, triplexes type of thing. And folks that want a little more space, don't want to be living on top of each other. Our demand for our rentals is, we put them on the market, they're rented very quickly. That also probably has to do with the fact that, there's a shortage of housing that I don't think is going to be solved anytime soon. So it's very strong demand, which makes it very good for us trying to rent these properties and get them going. Just kind of some pictures of some of the land and the homes that we have in the portfolio. Most of the land is out in areas that are away from cities and so on and so forth. It was pretty interesting in 2020 with COVID hitting, our land sales actually went up quite a bit because people were, the preppers maybe were thinking about they want to get out of the city and they were buying land out, in the rural areas. We have stuff in California out in the desert. We have stuff in Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Florida, Texas. But they're mainly in areas that are away from cities and so on and so forth. So you can really get away. So we had a lot of people that were buying land, kind of getting ready for, some apocalypse. Unfortunately, the major apocalypse didn't come like everybody was predicting. But anyways, it helped our sales tremendously last year. One of the interesting benefits of Fund 2 and kind of unique to real estate investing is in Fund 2, we have no leverage, which is pretty unique. So we have no asset level debt on the properties. All our investors are in first position. And, if the economy were to crash and things got really bad, we don't have any bank debt that's hanging over our head that would, we may have trouble paying if, rents weren't coming in or they're going down. I think, through COVID, actually our rents our collections were higher than they had been. So, last year, everybody was kind of predicting that rents were going to go down and it would be tough collecting. But fortunately, I think with the fact that there's not a lot of housing, there's not a lot of places for these people to move, there was no reason to not pay their rent. And then we had really good success with our property managers, internal, external, working with the folks that had trouble paying for whatever reason, losing their jobs or, when everything was shut down. And those folks were, we were able to, work with the local nonprofits who are kind of doling out the cash that was coming from the federal government. So that really helped us and helped our tenants as well. That's one of the things we like to do. I mean, you know, we're definitely not slumlords. We put out a good product. I think that's another reason why folks want to stay in our properties. So over time, the fund's been in operation since 2015. We've got a realized return, and that's income distributed, that's cash distributed to investors, a little over 10%. And if you include the appreciation of the assets, our IRRs in a little over 16%. Over that time, we've transacted on 6,000 plus assets. As Bobby mentioned, we've got about 1,250, 1,300 rental doors. We've got about 1,600 pieces of vacant land, and then we've got a few hundred tax lien certificates. So a little over 3,000 assets that are in the fund. Fund we've had well over 75 million invested in the fund. Currently, we're at about 72 million assets under management, and we've done a number of transactions over the years. So the benefits of Fund 2, the main benefit is passive income. So you guys sit back and we send you the checks every month. We've got diversification, not just in asset types, but also very diversified geographically. So everything's not concentrated in one area. Low investment to value, non-correlated returns, risk-adjusted returns, and then the other big one is zero leverage. And that's a huge one because obviously, you know, if things go south, we can certainly weather the storm. High Yield Fund 3, which we started this summer, that focuses on more value add opportunistic projects. Our first project in Fund 3, which you'll see the picture there at the top, is a 6-unit townhome project that we're developing from the ground up. We're buying the project shovel ready, basically, for about 1.6 million. It'll be about 4.5 million to develop it, and then we'll sell it for $7.5 to $8.5 million. So the return on equity on that one is going to be very sweet. It's going to be between 90 and 100% on that one. And these are the types of projects that we're looking for Fund 3. In that $2 to $15 million range, multifamily housing or mixed use. If it's already an existing structure, we want to go in and reposition it, raise the rents, and then refinance it, pull out our equity and do it again. Most of the timelines on this are going to be in the 24 to 36 month range. And so it takes a little longer to get the projects developed, but there's a nice payoff at the end. Just a little investment process for us. Phil Adler, who manages the Fund 3 for us, he has been in real estate development in the New York tri-state area for 30 years, and he is an absolute stickler when it comes to underwriting. He leaves no stone unturned. So he knows when we close on a deal, it's going to make money. And that's really where you make your money. If you've ever read any real estate books, is when you buy the property, is not when you sell it. So that's probably the biggest strength that we have is the experience and actually not just the experience, but actually, the track record of showing that experience has paid off. So basically what we want to do is we want to find these properties, we want to renovate them, reposition them, increase the occupancy if it's existing structure and we're just retrofitting it. We pay out quarterly profits, adjust the rents, and then, as I mentioned, sell or refinance the property to return the equity to the fund and potentially to the investors at that point. Our targeted return, so we got a preferred return of 8% in Fund 3. That's paid quarterly. Right now, since we started that fund just recently, those that 8% return is accumulating. We'll pay that once we start generating some profits in the fund, but it does accumulate, it doesn't go away. So that won't be anything that's lost, and it'll be accumulated. Our targeted total return is going to be 18% on an annual basis, so a little higher than Fund 2. Some of the benefits, obviously value add, appreciation. So as we're working on the properties, they're going to be not just appreciating from the just natural market appreciation, but also appreciating from the work that we're putting into them. Management, we are professionally manage this, cash flow, and then leverage. So in Fund 3, we're actually going to use leverage, and with interest rates low, even though they're talking about raising interest rates next year, they're still going to be low, historically. So we can leverage that and really pump up the investor returns by using leverage. And then of course, taxes, similar to Fund 2, you'll enjoy depreciation from the assets on your K1. So that's kind of cool. So just a quick comparison, Fund 2 and Fund 3. Fund 2, the minimum investment's 50,000. Fund 3, it's 100. The lockup period, which is basically how long the money needs to stay in the fund, is 24 months for 2 and 36. Preferred returns 10 on Fund 2, and then 8 on Fund 3. Profit split, and that's something that we didn't talk about on Fund 2, but after 10%, we split the profit with the investors 50-50. And then in Fund 3, we split the profit 65-35, and anything above 12%, it's 50-50. We do accept IRA funds, and you can also reinvest your distributions. So we have probably in Fund 2, I'd say about half the investors actually reinvest their distributions. They don't receive a monthly check. And so they're gaining units every month as they and growing their portfolio that way. Just some accounting stuff that's kind of interesting. K1s are distributed every year on time. You do get the benefit of depreciation. So, if you own rental properties now, you understand that depreciation is a nice way to write off on your taxes and shelter some income. We do the composite state tax filing for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we have audited financials every year. Here's some of our professional service providers. Gerasi Law Firm, they're our securities firm down in Southern California. They're a huge firm down there and very well respected. Our third-party administrator who prepares our financial statements every month and also manages the investor paperwork is Verivest, and they've been at it for quite a while. They manage hundreds of different funds as well. And then our CPA auditor and tax preparer, Spiegel Accountancy, up in Walnut Creek area, and they prepare our audited financials every year and our tax returns. Here's our team. So I manage Fund 2. As I mentioned, Philip Adler manages Fund 3. John Gianmarco, he's our CFO. Andrew Adler, who's on with us, he's our CIO, and he's in charge of all the deals that we bring in. And then I don't know who that guy at the end is there. He's some guy that just, we found his picture and threw it up on there. But anyways, like I said, we make owning investment properties easy. So basically we do all the work. You guys kick back and receive the checks. And it's just a nice way to balance out your portfolio. Or, if you're tired of tenants, toilets, and trash, then, it's a great way to convert, equity that you have in other projects into, cash flowing passive income the easy way. So here's some contact information. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can send an email to invest@Voyager Pacific and talk to Andrew. Our phone number there. Anything else, I'm always available too. So that's about it. I want to turn it back over to Bobby.
Great. Excellent. And I know we'll have some questions for you later on, but folks, feel free to unmute yourself or send a chat for Sam or David. Ask away, you know, and if not, then Jason and I will kind of grill you a little bit. But if you guys are, you know, just unmute yourself and ask away. Don't be shy.
Oh, I guess I can start.
Yeah,
A
go for
quick
it.
question for Sam. I'm just kind of curious. You know, DeskPass has a lot of different space partners. I was wondering, how does that legal structure kind of work? Is it subleases? Is it you know, like a legal document with the building owner? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so we don't own or operate any of these spaces, right? We work with existing professional co-working providers. So with every provider that we work with, we basically have three things. We have a contract that has pre-negotiated rates, sort of our terms of service with the operator. We have real-time connection to their inventory. So this is sometimes done through Google Calendar, through other tools. And then we have like the equivalent of an escrow account. So we use a Stripe Connect account. So when somebody makes a transaction on our platform, we can send them money in real time to that space provider. So there's no like minimum guarantee for the spaces. They just basically say, here's how much of our inventory you can market. And then we market that in real time.
Excellent. Hey, Sam, just curious, have people, kind of like Airbnb, people go and buy Airbnbs and put them on the platform, right? Have people gone out and procured commercial real estate, office space to specifically put it on your platform?
Yeah, it's a real interesting question. We're pretty specific about the space that we have on our platform today. So we really want to create like kind of quality vetted experiences. What we've seen lately, especially kind of as COVID has started to like people's thoughts around it have matured, is landlords are getting much more interested in working with us directly. So in the first wave of co-working, it was like this rent arbitrage model, right? I rent a space for 20 bucks a square foot, and then I am essentially selling it and marketing it for $40 a square foot. I cover all the CapEx, I cover all the OpEx, traditional lease, right? Going into COVID of increasing popularity and still so, it was these management agreements. So you're seeing more and more operators, similar to like a hotel model, go to a landlord and say, look, you cover the capital expenses, we'll share in the OpEx to this point, and then we'll, you know, and then we'll share into the upside of the opportunity. But the landlord, who's traditionally doing like long-term leases, doesn't want to do trash and, you know, all these things that David was talking about. But on the commercial side, like to operate, build a consumer brand, they work with an existing operator. Interestingly enough, over the last year, we've seen a lot of landlords. So we signed a deal with RXR in New York. We do work with Tishman in New York. What we're seeing is RFPs from landlords that are saying, look, I believe that part of my office is going to have to be this flexible stuff. And I don't really want to lease it. And I don't really want to do a management agreement. I'm actually going to build a co-working brand called, you know, Tishman has Tishman Studio. So they are marketing the brand, developing the brand, buying like they're doing it all in-house, but they've made the calculus that this is important enough to the future of my portfolio that I rather own it rather than work with a WeWork or a Convene or Industrious or Notel or one of these other operators. So that's a long answer to your question. There are other like interest, like we see restaurants that are offering co-working during the day because they only have dinner service, or retail, or offices which are mostly empty that are trying to think about this. And I think that's part of the future.
Yeah,
we're still kind of in the early innings and trying to really focus on great space experiences.
very nice, very nice, very nice.
So as far as for this, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Philip. Go ahead.
Okay. So as far as for the spaces go, so they like as far as for prepping up the spaces and everything like that, is that done by the landlord then? right? So like once it's like it's flex space, but once they're on your platform, they have to maintain it in a certain way for you.
Yeah, I mean, there are like minimum requirements that we have around the experience, right? So like desk, internet, coffee, and then we get enough demand through our platform that we get feedback. So if we see that there's like a negative experience, we can manage that and monitor that. I think co-working is still pretty nascent in the sense that like in CBDs, like in Chicago, there's 100 options, right? There's like no shortage of options. But if you're in a suburb or you're in like a small town, there might not be any co-working spaces, or there might only be one co-working space. And that co-working space might be like a Howard Johnson and not a Four Seasons. So we've taken the perspective to say we'd rather be like the intermediary and say like, this is a Holiday Inn, this is a Four Seasons. But we basically we vet the spaces initially and then follow through based on like the services that they're providing and the experience that our members have.
Very cool.
Okay, got it. And then so what's like the smallest space that can be on your like a smallest office? Because obviously it's a scale situation, right? A larger office, you can have more of the amenities for them because there's someone that can man that stuff. But smaller space, probably not much personnel. So like, what would be the smallest space you would?
It
Take on.
really depends. It also like for some of our spaces we like do access control integration. So we can
Mhm.
literally unlock the door and let people in without a space manager, which
Correct.
changes the dynamics of what we can offer. You know, I would say most spaces are over 5,000 square feet, as big as like 30, 40, 50,000. But we certainly have some kind of more unique spaces that are just a few hundred square feet and are like a specific asset that we can book, or like parts of smaller spaces that are in the low thousands.
Right. And I'm just like curious, what's your occupancy like or usage space in San Francisco Bay Area or particularly San Francisco?
Oh, it's super interesting. I mean, San Francisco as a market's really interesting because you would think based on just it being San Francisco that it would have like a very robust and sort of interesting inventory of co-working spaces, but it doesn't. There are certainly lots of there are plenty of co-working spaces, but it actually I think has less per capita than other kind of markets that are as big as San Francisco. And I think because of how expensive real estate is, you just get like a whole myriad of experiences. So it really there's less inventory in San Francisco compared to like other cities its size and maturity. And the occupancy really varies based on geography, right? Like we have spaces that are kind of in the Mission or in Soma that tend to have a higher utilization, a higher occupancy rate. But then we have spaces in like Berkeley and Oakland that you know, just depending on their geography and the nature of the environment are less busy.
So San Francisco Mission is high demand for you right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our biggest markets are Chicago, LA, New York, Austin right now. San Francisco has been a weird laggard in the sense that we expected it to be a busier city than it is. And there's just some weird market dynamics that we don't quite understand.
Yeah, it's a weird place right now. I still say it's the worst market in the country.
It is a shocking, I love it, but it is a shockingly weird place.
Yeah, great. I have a question for David. What is Voyager 2 currently yielding, David?
A little over 10% in realized income. So that's paid out to the investors. And then, you know, with appreciation, we're a little over 16%.
So, and let's see here. Will you be sharing the slides? Yes, we can get you the slides. Which part of the country is Fund 3 focusing on for value-added projects? Are Fund 2 and 3 taking in new investors?
Yeah, both funds are evergreen funds. So we're always taking in new investors. Fund 3 is focused mainly in the tri-state area because that's where Phil has all his experience and contacts. But we may branch out from there, in some of the other markets that we're in Fund 2, because we do have a lot of boots on the ground and contacts in those markets. So we're very big in Ohio and Indiana, in and around Detroit, in Florida. So any of those areas, where we have a footprint and we find good deals, we may branch out there. But right now it's the New York tri-state area.
Got it.
I have a question for
Yes,
David
Philip.
as well too. So on your funds right now, are they fully subscribed, or is there space across?
No, like I mentioned, they're evergreen funds.
Okay.
Both funds are in the PPM. We can go up to 100 million. Fund 2 is at 72 million right now. So we have another 28 million till we have to decide if we want to extend that or not. And then Fund 3, we just started. So that one's, we got a long way to go to get to 100 million in that one.
Got it. Okay. And then does your OM allow, like if somebody wants to exit, is there a procedure where maybe if another investor wants to load up on those shares and you kind of sell it internally, like?
Yeah, we do that
Okay.
all the time. It's just a
Okay.
transfer. And the investor that wants to exit will transfer those units to the investor that a lot of times it's internal to investors, somebody that's already in the fund. We just did a big one for about 530,000 this month. One investor wanted to exit and we had other investors in the fund that wanted those shares or the units. So we did a transfer with that. So that we do that, probably 3 or 4 times a year, probably.
Yeah. And one more question from Amit. How many years are the funds locked up for on Fund 2 and then Fund 3?
2 is 24 months and 3 is 36 months.
So, you got to be, which is pretty normal, actually. It's on the lower side of many funds, but yeah, 2-year minimum.
I have another question for David. On the land, the vacant land that you guys deal with, how long do you buy it before you're able to resell it out?
A lot of the pieces of land we got through tax liens.
Got it. Okay.
And so once we foreclose on those, then we put them in the land inventory and we sell them.
Okay.
So, we'll pick up a piece of land, through our tax lien certificate for $500 and we'll sell it for 5,000.
Correct.
So there's a nice markup there.
Got it. Okay.
And when that happens, if you're a member of the fund, you get that benefit when we flip that land or some property. So there's not only cash flow, there's some flipping going on in the fund as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all boils down to, what the profit is that month, because we close our books monthly and pay and distribute, do distributions every month. So, whatever we transact that month, whether it's a rental income or if it's a flip or whatever, that all gets figured into the profit and the bottom line and then gets distributed to the investors.
Okay. Do you have a specific type of vacant land parameters that you guys look for on the tax rolls?
No, it's, as long as it's vacant and, not inside a city generally,
Okay.
like a lot or something like that. But, typically in a rural area, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. And ever starting a fund that's purely just based on the tax lien stuff, in other words, between certificates or buying the property and flipping it that way, it's just purely
yeah.
that?
Yeah, Andrew jumped off, but he's been chomping at the bit to start a tax lien fund.
Okay.
So I think eventually we'll probably do that at some point.
Because I would love to jump into something that's just purely that, because
Yeah.
the administrative situations and the due diligence on that is very challenging, for an individual or a small team.
It's incredibly challenging. Fortunately, Andrew worked for a tax lien hedge fund for 5 years.
Okay.
And I would say he's probably one of the preeminent tax lien experts in the country. He knows them backwards and forwards. So if we ever do start a tax lien hedge fund, we got the guy.
Okay.
Question, if Fund 2 is evergreen, is the buy-in based on the NAV that is repriced periodically? If so, how often? And is the 10% based on the current net asset value?
Yeah, so it's based on the NAV. So whatever the unit price is, that quarter. So say you come in Q4 right now, you would get the let's see, we won't have the Q4 price. So you'd get the Q3 unit value. And then we vest new investors the first day of the next quarter. So anybody that comes in Q4, they come in as a note up until the first day of the next quarter. So on January 1st, all the investors that came in November and December will be vested with units on January 1st. Anybody that came in October, they were vested right away. So if you come in the first month of the quarter, you get vested immediately. If it's after the first month, then it gets held to the first day of the next quarter.
Yeah, it gets held, but you still get paid based on the note value.
Yeah, the note's 10%, so you're still getting a 10% return on your
you're still
money. You
getting
just don't get if there's anything over 10%, you wouldn't get that until you're vested in the units. But
Makes sense.
Hi, David. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Hi, David. This is Romel Taylor. Great presentation. I had a question about your development activity. So when you're looking for a development project, are you looking for something that's turnkey? It already has its entitlements, and then you come in and fund the construction, or do you get involved in the pre-development phases?
well, both. The Hastings project, that one is basically shovel ready, as I said. So once we close on that one, we'll be ready to start construction, basically, because we'll have permits. But if we find a piece of dirt, Phil's been working with municipalities in all the areas in his neck of the woods, and he's well versed in getting those things through the channels that are necessary to do that. All the building departments, which, as you know, can be incredibly challenging.
Yep.
Especially in those areas. And so, he's another, incredible resource expert that we have, on our team that we're very fortunate to have with his experience.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Yeah, if anybody else has a question, please unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll let the folks go grab some dinner, get some sleep. But thank you, everybody. And if you want to stick around, I got a demo of a software we've been developing for a while. So yeah, if you're, we can, if you want to stick around and maybe network, maybe if you have any situations or deals or anything like that, feel free to unmute yourself. But Sam, thank you, my friend. Great job. Well done with your platform and your company. And David, thank you. Always appreciate you coming on and sharing, what's going on with Voyager and how it's progressing. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks. Great presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. If I know we have a few folks around, so if any of you do any private money lending, then I have a platform for what's called fractional ownership of private money loans. So if you are a borrower or you're a lender or you're an investor, I want to show you something that I've been developing, and then it's live now. But let me see here, a Better Capital Fund. This is a sister company to BetterCapital.us. But here you can come in as an investor and find a loan that you may want to invest in. It's a debt, currently debt only, but eventually we're going to do a debt and equity. But let's say here's a loan. You can find out a little bit more information about this loan here. But you can come in with as little as $10,000 to start investing in these loans. So what we do is we fractionalize the loan. All right, so we fund the loan, then we put it on the platform, then you can come in and own a piece of the loan, right? You don't need to fund the whole thing. You can own a piece of the loan. And for that, we pay around 9%, 8.5%, 9%. Again, very passive, a little bit shorter term than some of the other funds out there. But the minimum to get started on our fund, on our platform is $10,000. And with $10,000, you can build a portfolio. So you can build a portfolio of all these loans on the platform. And you can say, you know what, this is in Texas. I want to own a piece of this loan. It pays to 8%. We pay monthly, but it's what I say. It's better than what's in the bank account. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. Those guys are at 0.025 or 0.05% is what they're paying on their CDs or their their checking accounts and savings accounts and so on. But here you can get around 8-9% on those loans. So if you're ever curious and you got some money in your cushion in your sofa seat or in your car's ashtray, let me know. Minimum is 10,000. These are typically first position liens. So we are lending money to fix and flippers out there. So private money lending. So we lend to them, then we put it on the platform. It's all done through a PPM. It's a fund. It's an SEC registered fund. And through the platform, you can own pieces of multiple loans, or one loan or two loans, whatever. But you can start to generate a little bit extra in your the money that's sitting idle. So or self-directed IRA as well. So happy to answer any questions.
I have a quick one.
Definitely.
Bobby, how easy is the exit?
Yeah.
If we, like you said, if we want to pull some money out of it.
Yeah. So the PPM says minimum hold period is 1 year. Minimum hold period is 1 year. But if you need something a little bit shorter, talk to me. We'll figure something out. But most people, they want to leave it for at least a year. And also, if after the 1 year, the way you exit out is when that loan that you're invested in pays off, that's when we can do your redemption. We can return your capital. But yeah, minimum, we'd like for you to be in it for at least 1 year.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
Hey, Steve, good to see you, brother.
Good
Hope
to
to see you Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely, I'll be out there Thursday. A question. So you said stay in minimum of a year. At that year, the original capital would be returned.
Well, so what happens two things can happen. You can say, okay, I need the money to purchase something or whatever, pay for kids' college or whatever. Then we return the principal, but of course the interest payments are paid monthly. So you're collecting the interest payments monthly. Some people, mostly through self-directed IRA, they choose to reinvest. So when they have the interest that's, let's say, paid out in end of November, then they say, okay, reinvest. So we put it in another loan. Now they're making interest on interest. So some of them do that. But for your, let's say in your scenario, Steve, you said, I want to pull all of the funds out. As long as you've been in it for about 1 year, you'll be no problem. If you have an emergency or something, of course, we will help you redeem the funds. But typically, the idea is when that loan pays off, let's say I'm doing a fix and flip in Texas, I've lent money to somebody in Texas, that flip is sold, then the money comes back. we notify you, and then you log into the portal and you go, okay, what other loans do you have? Boom, I'm gonna invest in the other loans that are on the platform. So that's kind of how it's kind of a way for you to get into private money lending. Right now, we're just offering debt, so private money debt. In the future, we'll be offering, equities as well. So if you want to, maybe you want to invest in a self-storage in, Denver, or you want to invest in a apartment syndication in Jacksonville, or in, West Palm Beach or whatever, then through our platform, you can come in and invest as little as $1,000, $2,000, but now you own a piece of that apartment building, a piece of that self-storage, or a piece of that marina. So the idea is that you'll be able to build a custom portfolio on our platform. Right now, it's purely private money for rehabbers, so, but anyway, that's what we do at Better Capital Fund.
Hey, Bobby, quick question. So are there any tax benefits to these returns, or they're, just taxed at your regular tax rate?
Yeah, so on a very, very good question. Here's the other beauty of the system. At the end of the year, you get one K1. Okay, normally real estate investors that invest in a bunch of syndications, they get a K1 from every syndicator. Some syndicators provide it on time, others don't. In our case, one K1 on the tax benefits. So Mukesh, what would happen is it's still the private money loan that's considered, short-term investment, right? Now, next year, 2022, we will be investing in other assets that have the ability to do accelerated depreciation, cost segregation. That depreciation will be passed on to our investors. So for example, let's say my buddy Max and I, we decide we're going to invest in a self-storage unit in Atlanta. Let's say that syndication minimum is 100,000. But if we have invested in that syndication, then you can come in at 5,000. 6,000, 10,000, whatever. But now you own a piece of that syndication through us, okay? Because we put in the 100,000. When there is cost segregation and their K1 comes in with depreciation, then that pro rata share gets passed over to you. So you get depreciation at that point. But in the debt side, it's purely short-term capital gains. So, but like I said, we're not competing with that asset class. We're competing with what Bank of America and Chase and Citi and Wells Fargo are offering in their checking or CD accounts. But next year we will be doing equities as well. So Mukesh, we're right around the corner. We'll just keep in touch with me, brother. We'll keep you posted on some other deals that we have going.
But it's the same, story. Like those funds or those loans will not be first lien position, and they'll be, because it's the very nature of equities, there's slightly higher risk, right? So that goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah. Risk reward. So because equities, sometimes they don't pay for 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, so there may be no in earnings for a while they're working to reposition the asset. In the debt side, we literally get paid. We get paid every month. Otherwise, we don't lend.
Mhm.
We want the borrower to. We put a first position lien on the property at very conservative terms. So we only do 75% of the purchase price, not the future value, the current purchase price.
Right.
We lend on that. So very conservative.
So another follow-up question, Bobby. So, let's say if you're saying it's fractional lending, right? So you don't have to own a full property,
Yeah.
and for a full property. So
Yeah.
even the lien is then allocated fractionally. So if prorated to your, loan amount. So let's say if a house was 50,000, you only put 25. So you only own 50% of the house, right? Is that also possible?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You own it's called pro rata share of that loan that you have invested in. So I'll give you an example. So for example, if we come here and we go to in here. So if we look at the loans on this property, so this is a loan, it's for, I believe, 90,000. So what happens is if you put up 45,000, the lien holder is a Better Capital Fund. Better Capital Fund limited partners are the lien holders on that property. So you would own 50% of the lien on that property. So what does that mean? Whatever interest is collected by us, and you will get 8.5% if you invested, let's say 10,000. So 10,000 times 8.5 divided by 12. That's what you would get every month. So that's kind of how you can look at it. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. But look, a lot of people, they have money that's either in self-directed IRA or just sitting around. It's not enough to go buy a property, and maybe you don't want to deal with the headaches of owning real estate. So like Voyager Fund and myself, we've been through the grinder. A lot of us have been through the grinder of owning real estate. But the idea here is that we try to make it easy. We do the sourcing, we do the due diligence, we do all the paperwork. Plus, Max and I, my buddy Max, we're putting our capital first into the loan. We may get investors, we may not get investors. So we have to be able to live with that decision, and we're comfortable lending on those loans. So we have skin in the game as well. So just that's kind of how we operate.
So Bobby, basically,
Real interesting.
yeah. Go ahead. Whoever else was.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. Right. So basically, if it's a 1 year hold, and then if, like I said, we put into loan A, and loan A pays off early, then we're pretty much out of it, and then we have to select for another one at that point, right? So it's just kind of in and out when we just choose from whatever available you have at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many loans do you have outstanding right now?
So on the platform we have currently 29 minus 6, so 23 loans.
23 loans out there. Okay.
Yeah.
And then about what's the total for all the loans approximately?
About 4.7 million yeah.
Okay. And then earlier you were talking about the equities. When you open up for equities, is it going to be also a 1 year hold time period, or will they be longer, or it'll depend upon each property?
Yeah. Great question. So what happens, syndications, those apartments, they're typically long-term, right? So usually they'll say 3 to 5 years minimum, maybe even if you're buying a office space or a self-storage or a retail, they're usually long-term. So whatever that sponsor has published in their PPM, then that's what we have to go by. On the
Got it. Okay. I'm with you. So you have the platform, and then other investors would be more or less posting it on there, right? So it's kind of like a GoFundMe. No, not GoFundMe.
No. So the
know,
way
no.
well, okay. So I'll tell you the beauty of our platform. And so let's say somebody only had 100,000 to invest. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's say they found a beautiful apartment building that they want to invest in. Maybe it's in Tampa, Florida, or it's in Austin, Texas. So the syndicator says, hey, you need, the minimum is 100,000. Okay, so you go, okay, boom, I'm gonna wire you 100,000. You wire 100,000. Guess what? You don't have any more money. In our platform, what we do is, if we like that deal, we will invest in it. Then we put it on the platform. Then you come along and you go, listen, I don't want to invest 100,000 in it. I just want to put 10,000. But I also want to have money left over to invest in other deals that come onto the platform. So it could be maybe a ground up construction. Maybe it could be an Airbnb fund. Maybe it could be another like a medical office fund. So you can then build a custom portfolio on the platform. That's now you're diversified. You have assets in multiple states. You have assets of multiple types. And as you earn more, you can come back to the platform, see what's available on the platform, kind of like Amazon.com. That's our vision. You come into the platform, you look at, hey, what do you have? Do you have something in, I heard that Nashville is really hot. Okay, can I put something in Nashville? But now, instead of tying up a whole bunch of money, you can put a little bit of money to work, and at the end of the day, still get one K1. You still get one K1 from us, not a bunch of different K1s, and you still get the depreciation. So whatever depreciation is shared by the syndicator, we pass that over to our investors. So
I'm sorry, that's a big one. So there's 100 different properties that we're in. We're not gonna have to file 100 different K1s. It'll just be the one from you.
One K1. That's a huge advantage of our fund. So one K1 to make your lives easier. Yeah. So
Bobby?
Yeah.
Question, how long has the site been live?
So we launched in April. And since then, we've funded 29 loans, and we have, close to, we have 31 investors. And we're adding, every day we're underwriting new loans, we're underwriting new opportunities. So, like Steve, you're part of some very impressive syndications, and, you'll be doing syndications yourself. So what'll happen is, let's say you find you're organizing a syndication, and you go, hey, I need some capital, et cetera, et cetera. If Max and I like that deal, because we are the underwriters, we will put up our capital into your deal, and then we put it on the platform so other smaller investors, can come in and own a little bit of your deal. So that's the other beauty of this platform. So it serves the sponsor and it serves the investor.
Right, a marketplace, like you said.
Exactly.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very cool project, Bobby.
Yeah. So this has taken us a while. Hello, Svetlana.
Hi,
Which
Bobby.
continent are you in this week?
This one, this one,
No,
this
no.
one. This time I'm in San Francisco.
Oh my God, no, no
I'm
way.
back. I'm
I
back.
was thinking some exotic location.
Yeah, yeah. I joined I think I joined in the right time when you were talking about fix and flip type of lending, and since I'm part of it day to day, and just curious, Bobby, on your philosophy in general, not to challenge you with your underwriting strategies, but so it sounds like your LTV is at 75% on these loans, and you lend on as is value, correct?
I lend on whatever they're acquiring it for. So if they're acquiring it for, they have to show us the purchase agreement, right?
Got you.
And the HUD and everything. So
Got
then
it.
we lend. We want them to come up with the 25% plus the rehab cost. That's on them.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. So for the collateral protection, I guess my question is on the protection side of their, of the loan. So if you lend on this as value and you lend on 75%, do you think that 25% cushion is enough to protect you and your investors on possible potential downturn in real estate plus? And anyhow, the flipper might go south with the project. Let's see, permits are not approved or construction crew is not doing the right thing, things like that. So how do you think about that? Is that cushion 25% enough for you? Because the moment they buy the property, and let's say it's in a C4 condition, livable type of property, the minute they come in and put the hammer on, it will become less value type of property because they might demolish a lot in the property, and then the collateral become less valuable if they have to resell it.
Yeah, no, very, very, very good questions. I love it. So let me just show you. So a couple of things. We rarely lend to brand new rehabbers. They have to be repeat borrowers or very experienced. So like if you look at this property, for example, the value of this property, it's not going down. It's a beautiful property, and we are at 50% of combined loan to value. So even less than 75%.
Gotcha.
So me and Max, we're super conservative. Look at this property. Okay, this property, I don't think is going anywhere. Although there was a tornado in Kentucky over the weekend. So let me show you this property, okay? Look at how amazing this property is. So these are the kinds of properties that we're lending on. So yeah, so this one is not going anywhere. All right, and I want to show you one more. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. This is another property that we did a loan on. So this is already on the MLS. This is in Big Bear Lake. This is all fixed up, but this is This is another loan with, this is gonna mature in about 2-3 months. It's already on the MLS. So when he sells it, we're gonna get paid. But again, but I have the before pictures. I'll see if I can dig them up. I have the before and after pictures on most of my properties. But as you can see, we are super conservative when it comes to lending, on these properties. So let me
That one is
see.
gorgeous. That's really nice.
It's gorgeous. It's in Big Bear Lake.
Yeah.
And
How did it look before? Was it in pretty bad condition?
oh yeah, I'll see if I can dig up the before pictures, but it was in pretty bad condition. So
Oh, that's great.
Svetlana, two things. And look, you're an expert. I'd love to pick your brain sometime. So number one, if we have to foreclose and finish the project, it's something we're open to doing it. We've never had to do it. Done over 200-300 loans. It doesn't come to that. By the way, I want to show, just so you know the quality of our loans. I want to show you one more. Give me 1 second. This is an amazing property. So let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Okay, so this is, look at this property. Now this is in Alabama, but amazing property. I'm gonna give you the address. Repeat rehabber. They let me see. This is a new, oh, sorry. I can find the pictures. This is a new development, so sometimes. Yeah, sometimes these, because it's, yeah, here we go. So this is the property. Yeah, this is the property that we're lending on. So yeah, so we're not lending on junk in Detroit and stuff like that. So and most of I have a rehabber who's a repeat borrower, been with us for like 3-4 years. We're lending to him. I'm lending to a rehabber in North Carolina who's a full-time rehabber. Yeah.
Got it. So part of your underwriting is underwriting the borrower and their experience type of thing.
Borrower and the property, yeah.
And their kind of funding in place to make sure they cover the rehab budget.
Yep. They have to close. They got to come in with the 25%, and then they got to have enough money to do the rehab. And we don't defer our interest payments. Like sometimes they want to like, hey, I'll pay you at the end. No, you got to pay every month. So
got it. And is part of your underwriting also looking to as a repaired value and making sure the purchase price plus the rehab does make sense, like whether or not there is cushion for them to make the actual profit? Okay.
We do comps. We run comps on similar properties, what they've sold for. So yeah, so Max has been doing private money since 2011, and I've been doing it since 2014. So he does most of the underwriting, but luckily super conservative. We turned down a lot of loans. In fact, even today, I turned down a loan in San Ramon because there was just not enough, like you said, cushion in the deal, even though it was in a beautiful neighborhood, all that, and it didn't it was a little bit too risky, so we passed on it.
So you have like a minimum maybe for that cushion to the money to be made, or what's your kind of criteria? Like how close purchase plus rehab can be to the exit price?
So look, you have to look at the purchase price, the rehab cost, there's going to be overruns. So whatever they estimate, it's going to cost them more than whatever they estimated. And then it has to be there has to be enough left over for them to make money. There's no point lending to somebody who's not going to make any money on the deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we look at the comps, and we sort of estimate that this will be a newer product. So maybe there's a little bit of a premium attached to a newer product, but yeah, as long as, yeah, of course they have to make money. Most of the time, I want to say 95% of the time they make money. Every now and then they miscalculate, but they're still on the hook to pay us, whether they miscalculate on their end or not. But of course, we don't want them to miscalculate. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit more. So
go for it. I like those exercises.
There you go.
Makes me learn the market.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're this is an extension of our private money lending, hard money lending, because a lot of my friends, like if I didn't have the money and I would call my friends and I go, hey, do you have 400,000? Do you have 500,000 to do a loan? Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't, but they used to say to me, no, I got 80 or I got 100 or I got 120. So then I, but now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We fund the deal, we put on the platform, then I reach out to you, to Steve, to Ramel, to Jason, Jackie, whoever, Mike, and then go, yeah, I got 10,000, or I got $500,000, or some people come in, we put a loan and they go, I want it all, this is in a desirable area, I want the whole loan. So they'll wire the full amount. And then as soon as that loan is fully funded, it comes off the platform. So, and then if it's still available, then people can come in at their leisure and invest a little bit in that loan. So
makes sense.
Yeah, cool. You got to make a trip down to South Florida and
one day
soon. So Jackie, I know that's a great question. Yep. You're right, Jackie. What I'll do is I will, Jackie, to automate it. We're working on some enhancements, but right now, what some of our investors that we've been working with for a long time, they just go, listen, if one of the loans matures, you pick another loan, just put it to work. And then Max and I will meet for 5 minutes. We'll just redeploy their capital. So some of the ones that, trust us, they'll let us redeploy, and then they just get notified. So yeah, cool. Let me see, but yeah, thank you everybody. And if Jason, any last question?
No, just learned so much today. I feel like my brain's kind of fried.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Bobby, I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it may be quick.
Yes.
So is there a particular type of IRA I need to have if I want to deploy some of that capital into an investment like this?
It's called a self-directed IRA or SDIRA, but yeah, that's what you need.
So can that be a Roth? Is that different than a Roth
Yeah,
IRA?
it's different. Roth is different, but you can convert a Roth, I believe, to a self-directed IRA. You'll have to check with your accountant, or you send me an email and I'll put you in touch with the self-directed IRA folks. And they'll be able to guide you to see if it can be converted over to a self-directed IRA and what's the process. And if there's
That'd
any
be great. Yeah,
tax consequences.
great. Yeah, I'll shoot you an email on that one.
All right, all right.
So I don't
Hey,
have an accountant.
shoot me an email, Romel, and I'll put you in touch with the right people.
Thanks, sir.
All right, brother. Hey, Mike, how are you? You're muted, but sorry, Mike, you're muted. No, Mike, I don't know. I can't hear you. But anyway, Mike, reach out to me, brother. Have a good night. Jason, thank you. And Romel, Svetlana, everybody, Joseph, Jason, everybody, Jackie. We'll see you soon. Have a great Christmas, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks,
Night.
Bobby.
All right.
Night,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Okay.